Okay, excellent. Success. I'm Dawn Campbell, your host at the IAPC&M, and you're all very welcome to another CPD and business building webinar. This time in the hot seat, we have the lovely Bea Flanagan. Hello, Bea, and welcome.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm delighted to be here, and hello, everybody. It's great to see you all today.
You're very welcome. Bea is an accredited master coach, and she's the founder of PALS, which is a program for teens. She specializes in emotional intelligence, resilience, strength, stamina, all done through a positive mental mindset in a fun and engaging way. Something interesting about Bea, I always like to say something interesting about our guest speakers that you perhaps didn't necessarily know from the biog, is that Bea has stood for a political party. So she had political aspirations in Ireland and stood for Be the Difference. You know, B as in BEE, there's just so much she can do with that.
Much.
I love it. Sadly, politics is loss is our gain, and Bea is still coaching full time. So what we're going to be doing today is kind of like an interview format. And I'm going to be asking Bea to explain her philosophy around emotional fitness and how it fits in. And please, all of you, feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask questions. You don't have to wait to the end. We've got a couple of slides by way of a summary. And we're going to be on the call for about 60 minutes to 75 minutes, depending on how many questions there are. So this is a discussion I hope you'll all enjoy. So pick up your pads and pens and sit back and listen to Bea. I would like to kick off, Bea, first with a question around what is your definition of emotional fitness and how does it differ to emotional intelligence?
Very good. Great question, actually, because it is something, Dawn, that people are familiar with EQ or emotional intelligence, which is slightly different, but it's an aspect of emotional fitness. And just to welcome everybody, please do feel free, as Dawn said, to ask any questions because it's interactive. Sometimes it's in the spur of the moment that you want to ask a question. And don't be afraid to ask a question because somebody else might want to know the answer as well. So please feel free to do that because it's nice to have that. Also as well, having your pen and paper is important. Take some notes if you want to as we go along. But the first question, I'm answering Dawn's question with a question just for everybody to get us on track. And the first question I want to ask everybody to maybe make a note of is how you're feeling right now. So to answer that question, just to use the words I am first. So if you're going to say I am feeling, and just tune in for a moment to see how you're feeling. You could be feeling excited, you could be feeling tired, you could be feeling stressed, you could be feeling overwhelmed, or you could be feeling just chilled, depending on what has happened just before midday when we came online. I'm feeling a little bit aware that we have a fly in the kitchen, and Charlotte will be familiar with this because he was here last night for my live session with my VIBs. I do a group coaching every week. So he's going to probably pop in during the session. So apologies if you see me doing this in a few minutes. But write down how you're feeling because that is really the crucial point. It's like the underpinning of everything I do, whether it's in PALS program or my coaching business, what will be with Bea. I start every session with my clients asking how they're feeling. So this is where the difference is and how we kind of understand what the emotional fitness journey is. I believe now that it's a journey of, it's a name that we can put on. You know, people are talking about mental health, they're talking about emotional intelligence, they're talking about our thought process. And the emotional fitness, to me, is like an umbrella of all of these things. And it names this journey of well-being. It names the fitness program, if you want to call it, of our mental health and our mental well-being. And sometimes I feel the words mental health are thrown around there without really understanding what it is that we're talking about. What is that mental health and well-being? What is that emotional intelligence piece that is very much about our empathy and our ability to connect with others and understand? Whereas for me, the personal journey of emotional fitness is about understanding who you are and identifying how you feel and what's happening for you in your life. And when we look at it as from a coaching perspective, so everybody here today is working on a coaching business themselves, how we use emotional fitness in coaching It's very important, ladies, and I think we're all ladies on the call today. It's very important, ladies, to understand what your emotional fitness is and how do you measure that, and how do you begin that journey. So that's where, and just to kind of share the understanding I have gotten in the last 18 months, probably because of everything we've been through, allowed me to look at emotional fitness from that vantage point. It's not something that I would have used as a word of my coaching, but it's something now that I realize we're all looking at getting fitter and better mentally. And you'll know there'll be reference throughout everything we talk about today, Dawn. I will compare it and reference it to the physical fitness, because it's working the two of these in tandem with each other that allows us to feel well.
I mean, we all talk about the importance of mind-body connection. And I suppose this is just slightly different language, isn't it, Bea?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's for me, working with not just young people, but young adults and adults. So my client base is varied, but the synergies I make with my clients are all the same, because we come from the same point, no matter if you're 14, 24 or 44. So understanding that and the language I've used now around the emotional fitness really allows us, all of us, to make the connection and the comparison to working out on a fitness level with our mind, as well as working out on a fitness level with our bodies. We can think of what it is to exercise physically. I don't know if anybody does anything physically to exercise it, but you know what that's about. It might be put the runners on and go for a walk. It might be book your personal trainer to do a fitness program. It might be to book a nutritionist to do something that's there. We're talking about the same, ladies, with emotional fitness. We've got to look at it from that place where we step back and go, what are the steps that I want to put in place to feel emotionally fit all the time? And we've got to start at some point. And that point for me is always, how do you feel? And actually, if anybody wants to answer, I don't know if it came into the chats, if anybody wants to share how they're feeling right now, that might be something, if anybody wants to do that.
Colette did, because I know she has techie issues and can't turn her video on or communicate with us other than through the chat. She said,
okay. Hi, Colette.
Feeling a bit overcrowded, multitasking as usual, just about made it today. And I said, I can empathize. I'm a bit hyperactive myself at the moment. So yeah, I mean, if anybody else wants to share in the chat box or personally, then by all means say. But what do you do with that information once you've got it? Bearing in mind, Bea, not everybody is kinesthetic and in touch with their feelings anyway.
Okay, so when we're looking at all the work that I've done, so I've been coaching now nearly 15 years. And when somebody contacts me and asks me about coaching, you know, we've got all different types of niches out there. We have career coaching, we have health coaching, we have business coaching, life coaching, team coaching. It's endless, ladies. And this is where the opportunities are with us for coaching. We can coach anybody once we know who we are as a coach. So understanding that from the emotional fitness point of view, it's not necessarily being an emotional fitness coach. It's about embracing emotional fitness through coaching, no matter what modality or niche area that you're in with coaching. And how we do that is to learn and identify. So if we want to use emotional fitness in coaching, we've got to be emotionally fit ourselves. So when we recognize that, and how do we recognize that, as you've asked on, what do we do? How do we connect in with how we feel? It's stopping, isn't it? It's just taking that moment to ask yourself that question. You mightn't have the answer there and then, but to tune in and say, how do I feel right now? When we talk to people, you meet somebody, you know, you mentioned there that I did the campaign. I had 6 weeks to turn around a campaign. Most people had 5 years to prepare for that campaign. And in that 6 weeks, I had to draw on everything that I've done in the last 15 years to allow myself to be able to do that. And I had to tune in to how I felt. For the first 2 weeks, I felt overwhelmed, out of order, not knowing what to do, at the back. And I thought, this isn't me. And I thought, how do I change this and make this campaign? It wasn't necessarily about politics for me. It was about being a community activist and putting back into the community what I received from it. So I was coming from that angle. But then I realized I have to be in charge of this. I have to be the one in control of this. And I used all the lessons that I'd had in my life to date, which were challenges after challenges. But what happens when we experience challenges, ladies, we have the opportunity to grow. And in that growth, that's where we discover our emotional fitness. That's where we discover our understanding of where we are and who we are. But we've got to keep, sometimes it's really hard, isn't it? It's hard to go back and face into how we feel. If you feel awful or you feel off track, then is there a way of changing that? And that's where the question comes in then. How do we deal with how we feel? Or how do we recognize that we have a choice to deal with how we feel? So it brings me back to the basics that I always use. I call it the PALS pyramid, which is thoughts, feelings, and actions. And every thought creates a feeling, and every feeling creates an action. But we often forget that the thoughts are creating the feelings. And this is why the thought process and the words that we use and the thoughts that we have are so vital, ladies, because they create the feelings that we're feeling. So when we meet somebody, so when I was out canvassing, or if I met Dawn walking down the street, or I meet Charlotte, I don't say to you, "Hi, Dawn, how are you feeling today?" Sorry, "How are you thinking today?" I don't say that to you. If I did, you'd say, "Right, but I'm not sure where you're coming from." But I might say to you, "How are you feeling?" And it's a powerful question to ask, because depending on the moment you ask it, you're giving the person who's hearing that question an opportunity to say, somebody wants to know how I feel. And you might say, "I feel great. I've just had a coffee with a friend and it's brilliant." Or you might say, "Oh, it's one of those days, I'm all over the place." But when we connect the thought to the feeling, now we have a way, Dawn, of identifying why we might feel a certain way. And we bring it back to how we're thinking. So if somebody tells me how they're feeling, so say, for example, just to say, somebody might say they're feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling, frazzled. I could nearly tell that their mind is overactive at the moment, that there's thoughts flying in from all angles. I'm doing that, lady, so I can get rid of the fly at the same time. The thoughts are flying in from all angles. So I can then say, I know that this person is feeling, their thoughts are just everywhere. And it's silencing that. Yes, there's lots of different things we have to do that silencing, but we've got to identify that that's where we start. And I believe that we can only identify that by asking ourselves how we feel. Mm. So when we look at the thoughts, feelings, and actions, the PALS pyramid, every thought creates a feeling and every feeling creates an action. So the actions that we make, ladies, are based on how we feel. And the feelings that we have are based on how we think. They're so connected. But we're nearly in the action point before we realize that we've had control over this, or a potential to be able to be in control over it. So if it's a negative thought process that's creating negative feelings, overwhelmed, anxiety, stress, panic, fear, all of those feelings, then our actions are going to be what we call reactions. They're not proactive actions. They haven't been planned ahead. We're waiting for the action we're waiting for the experience so that we can react to it. And then we react, which is our response to it. We react, and maybe it creates more of those negative feelings, thoughts, which create more of those negative feelings. And now we're in this spiral. And it's, where do we stop the spiral? Where do we press pause and make a decision that my emotional fitness is important to me? If I took on a physical fitness regime, I wouldn't expect to run a marathon the first day, would I? Well, I would be pretty crazy if I thought I could do that. But I might say I'm going to train really hard for 2 or 3 days and I'll do that 10K. I might get 2 of that 10K done and then feel I'm not ready for this. And at that point, you can either give up and say physical fitness doesn't work. The same can happen, ladies, with emotional fitness. That marathon is like life. It's like, I want to succeed really quickly, but I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I just want it to happen. Or I want to feel amazing regardless of what's going on. Or I want to be really good at something, but without putting the effort in. It's not going to succeed. And what happens is life challenges. They're like I believe anyway, they've given me the greatest opportunity to build my emotional fitness, often without realizing I was doing it. I was getting stronger, I was building resilience, I was able to deal with different challenges, often thinking I might have a breakdown. But I actually had a breakthrough. And the breakthrough allowed me then to kind of recap, oh, I can actually do this. And then the next challenge, as big as it might have been, wasn't as challenging as the previous one, because in that first challenge, or several challenges, I built the resources that allowed my emotional fitness to stay fit. And I did it all with my thought process. Every thought that we have creates a feeling, and every feeling creates an action. Keep bringing it back to that, because that allows us to benchmark where we are. So I do have 3 questions that I often ask, always ask. And I actually have my clients type them up or put them on their screensaver or have them in their wallet. It's something, it's a go-to, and it will be on the slide so we can recap it. But the first question is, how do I feel right now? And everything could be all over the place, but you're taking that moment to stop. And the second question, how would I like to feel right now? And that's crucial, because we don't realize we have a choice. And when I work with young people in schools, that's probably the biggest penny dropping moment for them, when they go, I can choose to feel differently. You can, once you know you can. If we don't know we have choice, we end up getting overwhelmed, and more overwhelm keeps coming, and we just don't know when. We may stop at that breakdown point, or we may stop at exhaustion, or we may stop because we just can't go anymore. But if we're aware of that, we can stop it as it's happening. So when you have that, the second question, how would I like to feel right now? Then choose that feeling. So if I was to say to, I think it was Colette that said she was feeling overwhelmed, and Dawn, you said, what did you say you were feeling?
Hyper.
Hyper. Hyper can sometimes be good if it's going to be in the right direction, but if the energy is funneled into the wrong direction, it can be that disjointed, can't it? So if I was to ask you, how would you like to feel?
Calm.
Doesn't matter what's going on. Calm? Calm, is that what you said? Okay. So what do I need right now is the third question. So if you're feeling hyper and you'd like to feel calm, what do you need right now? And those 3 questions are part of your fitness regime for your emotions, to ask yourself that all the time. They're like, you know, compare it to all the aspects of physical training. You don't just go into it without thinking. You plan it, you buy the equipment, you know, you might buy the equipment and not do the exercise, but you've got a plan around it. Our emotional fitness, if we don't pull it in, it just happens. And there's no plan, and there's no structure. And what's really important is that it's a daily habit. It's a daily structure that we do. So if the question, Dawn, to create calm for you, what do you need right now? What would that be? What do you think you might need right now?
I would need a couple of things that are slightly outside of my control to be sorted. So other people to do what they need to do.
Okay, so there's 2 things that are at play here. You have a little bit of a long-term plan of what will help you feel calm and in control and not so hyper immediately. And I know we're doing this for another 60 minutes or 50 minutes, so we can't really do the immediate now. But say immediately today, what could you do that would bring a bit of calm in? Because what happens is the thoughts create the feelings, and the feelings create the actions. When we can tune into what a feeling of calm is, it might be simply an affirmation of I am calm, because our thoughts create our feelings. And the more we think a certain thought, the more we feel a certain feeling. So if I'm thinking over and over again, like repetition, you know, to do a sit-up, you might have to do 10 sit-ups in 30 seconds at the beginning, or 5. But you may end up doing 30 in 30 seconds when you're getting really fit. So the I am affirmations, they may seem a bit out of character when you're not feeling calm, to be saying to yourself, I am calm. And what do I need right now? Maybe I need to sit down. Maybe I need to listen to a meditation that I know will create a feeling of calmness, but my thoughts are creating the feelings. So in the craziness that's going on, I can create a feeling of calm by thinking it. And when I think that feeling, that thought of calmness, I create the feeling. Now I'm proactive, not reactive. So the proactive side, and take the example that you shared, thanks, Dawn, with, you know, the plan of who it is that needs to do what you need them to do. Maybe putting that in, do I need to make a call? Do I need to just kind of tighten the squeeze on it a little bit? But I'm calm now while I'm doing it because I've created the calmness with that thoughts, feelings, and actions. And often it's taking, we won't know that, will we, unless we ask those 3 questions. And often, you know, I live by the busy bee name. I've used it all the time, and I've created the busyness that is my life, absolutely. But I ensure that I take a moment when I feel things are not in my control normally, that I'll take those 3 questions. So that's the first part of our fitness plan, our fitness program, our emotional fitness piece. How do we stay on track with that? So the second part of it would be creating affirmations that would bring about positive feelings that we know then will create positive actions. Does anybody use affirmations on a daily basis? Things that they say, you know, Angela, you do. Would you like to share any of them, or would you like to share any of your affirmations yet?
Sure. So I think it depends on, exactly like you said, how I'm feeling on the day. Yeah. But I present a lot. So before I ever go into a presentation, then I will always say to myself, you know, I have an important message to share. People want to hear my message, you know, just things like that, that just get me in the zone before I speak.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Because when we use the power of these affirmations and we realize the connection between the feeling and the feeling connected with the action. So those affirmations, Angela, create feelings of confidence, of assertiveness, of a sense of knowing you're good at what you do, and that you're being, I suppose, on a humanitarian and passionate level, sharing your information. And that then creates the action, which is you want to do it again and again and again, because that creates that feeling which is coming from the affirmation. Brilliant. Excellent. Anybody else use them on a daily basis in any way? No?
I do.
Jenny.
If I'm feeling low in confidence, I'll say to myself, I'm chosen, I'm equipped, I'm prepared.
Excellent. And they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, what you've said to me, ladies, is when I'm feeling a certain way, or when I have to do something, I do this, which is brilliant. But what I want you to do is introduce it as part of your everyday thinking, because it creates those feelings consistently. And, you know, when we say, how do I feel right now? How would I like to feel right now? And what do I need right now? It might be a cup of tea. I just need a cup of tea. We're not looking at anything major to create the feeling, because it's all within. So when you're looking at, you know, compare it again to the fitness, the physical fitness. And I have to say, I'm very late to the comparison of the physical fitness, ladies, with the emotional fitness. I've spent 15 years working on my emotional fitness, a lot of the time unaware that it was a program I was bringing into my own life and creating it with my clients. Because when clients would say to me, you know, what kind of a coach are you? And I will say to them, and this is how it works for me, I don't talk to you about your goals for the first 3 sessions, at least, because I have to figure out where you are emotionally and where your thoughts are. And we start there. And when I get them into that, they're ready. It's like a pre-training to then being able to address what their goals are. Because if you're feeling motivated, inspired, if you're feeling happy and positive, of course you're going to achieve your goals. And you're going to know if they're the goals you want to achieve because you're tuned in and aligned with how you feel. And one of the challenges people have from a coaching perspective, coming to a coach, is identifying what those goals are and how do we achieve them. Or I've done them before and I've tried it before and it hasn't worked. Maybe it's about the headspace, the thought process. If you get that right, then I think everything else follows through. But it's the momentum. So with the affirmations, starting your day off, for me, as I said, I'm late to the physical fitness because I had a back problems for 7 years. And I didn't walk. I didn't do exercise as in walking. And then I got miraculously cured by a fabulous chiropractor last July, and I have not looked back. But what happened was, with everything that was going on in lockdown, the spotlight was on our emotional fitness hugely. Everybody was feeling all of these. I felt overwhelmed. I felt restricted. I followed the rules and stayed in. I rolled out of the first lockdown, and I mean physically rolled out of the first lockdown, because I'd say some days I did 50 steps, and that was probably from the bathroom to the bedroom or from the bedroom to the kitchen. It was really challenging. But what I did in it was I said, what works for me right now? And I started working on more and more of this emotional fitness plan. I set up some Facebook groups just to talk to people 2 or 3 times a week, to tune into where everybody else was feeling. And then I saw I had an opportunity to start. I turned 50 in March, and I said, right, I'm going to be fit at 50. And I started that in October. But then I made a correlation. And I'm sure so many people have. I'm just really, I'm aware of it now. But the correlation of our physical fitness and our emotional fitness, and seeing that if we're not staying on track emotionally every day to be fit, we're not going to be able to do all the other things. And it's that process of, what's your daily routine? For me, it's affirmations when I wake up. It's a meditation when I wake up. It's all of those things before my day is set, so that I am emotionally ready. The minute we wake up, ladies, we have an opportunity to have a quiet mind or recall everything that was in our head before we went to sleep. But if everything that was in our head before we went to sleep is overwhelming panic or anxiety, then we're going to wake up with that. And then the next day, and then the next day, until it gets too much and we can't deal with it anymore. Whereas we implement a fitness, an emotional fitness regime or a plan, then every day we're on track. And this is where the daily and weekly habits are crucial to keeping us emotionally fit. Would you agree with that? Is that something that you think is true? Yeah. So when we do that, we're setting ourselves up for a successful day. It doesn't matter if we have challenges. Thank you, Colette. It doesn't matter if we have challenges. We all have challenges. I mean, they're not going to go away. We may as well face the fact that life brings with it challenges. But it's not what happens that matters. It's how we react to it that brings about the result. And the more we practice it's a bit like, when the days are good. So as the example, if I'm feeling good, what's the point in having an affirmation today? Because I feel good. There's that fly. I feel good. There's no need to check it. I don't need to meditate today. I feel grand. But if I don't, when I don't feel good, I won't have the resources in my tank to pull on to stay fit through the challenge. And then I'll be depleted, and I'll be again, thank you, Charlotte, I'll be depleted, and I will be without energy to deal with the next emotional challenge that I have. And this is where our physical energy and our emotional energy are connected. Yes, if we feel physically well and we can stay on our fitness, there is this thing that they say releases, the endorphins that allow you to feel happy. You have to maintain that though. You can't do a 10K run every day. Physically, you might be able to do it. You can't run a marathon every week. So you do something that's small to maintain that. For me, I have fitness now 6 days a week. I cannot actually believe I'm saying it, but I am. And I do, you know, three runs a week, 2 walks, 2 classes. It's constant. And last night when I finished my VIBs live, we were all high with energy because I've been working on this pillar of emotional fitness now. This is our second 6-week program, but we've done 12 weeks and we've done 18 weeks before that. Like, there's a lot of work gone in to bring the stamina up. That I went for a walk afterwards, which I would never normally do. My mornings are for walking, not the evening. It turned into a run. There was no plan, but it just, because the energy was there and we feel good. And it wasn't just physically, it was all the emotional energy that had to happen through the day that allowed that to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
it does.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, Angela, who presents, and Jenny, who's a podcast host, and myself and everybody else on the call who has that adrenaline rush of being in front of an audience or interviewing. Afterwards, you are hyper. And if you notice that, particularly at nighttime, if you've done a webinar late at night, so I'm doing one across the other side of the world, and so I come to, and I think, I'm not ready for bed. I'm feeling hyper. I've got to burn my beans. I've got to do something.
Yes.
Burn this
Yeah,
energy.
exactly.
So yeah, I can understand that you would go for a good old stomp or do something.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But if we're building our emotional fitness every day in the simple things, we'll have that energy. We'll build the consistency of that energy through everything that we're doing. And it's understanding that with you know, all the different things, it's important to replenish it. It's important to take the time down to say, where am I? And that's where your 3 questions come into it. But also taking the time out to prioritize yourself. And I think that's probably was the biggest thing through the last 18 months, that people weren't able to connect with others, weren't able to have physical connection with others. And there was a lot of opportunity, sometimes not great. People didn't want that opportunity of self-reflection. Because when we do have that self-reflection, we've got to, it's a bit like when Dawn said, how do we know how we feel? We mightn't want to tune into that. We mightn't recognize it. We might, has anybody ever experienced something where you'd say, you know, I don't feel myself. That's just not like me at all. And it's tuning into, why did that happen? And what can I do from a practical, emotional piece to bring myself back into alignment? And it's that alignment that allows us then to know who we are and where we're coming from. And having that time for self was really, really important. And then making the connection with understanding that everything that happens for a reason. And what can I take from that reason? And what can I learn from it? So when we work on the self piece, you know, everything is around like self-acceptance, self-confidence, self-resilience, all of that. It only happens when we prioritize ourselves to do that. So the daily, you know, affirmations, and Angela and Jenny, I loved your affirmations. Let's expand them. Practice, you know, humor me maybe and try something extra and see, does it have that impact? Because the physiology in the body changes because of our thoughts creating the feelings. And fear has been one of those huge emotions that we've felt right across. I felt it huge. And it's okay to be fearful. It's okay to identify that. It's okay to be where your feelings are so that you know where you can bring them if you wish to change it. And it's knowing that full emotional scale. So when we listen to news, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do, I don't particularly listen to the news, but when you listen to the news, you're absorbing a collective energy that's based on a feeling of fear or anxiety. And energy is palatable. You know, you walk into a room, maybe we don't get to do that anymore at the moment, but when we could walk into a room, where could you sense people's energy? You'd be standing beside someone going, oh, they've got great energy. I'm just drawn to them. I just love being in their company. Or there's somebody else that you're like, oh, it just doesn't feel right. the physical energy that goes on is directly connected to the emotional energy. So when we radiate fear, we're going to attract it. And often it's about observing what goes on and not necessarily absorbing it. We can see it for what it is, but it's like a belief system. Do we have to believe that it's true? Do we have to absorb it just because we've seen it or we've heard it from somewhere? So the same thing happens with, you know, our language around our emotions. What way are we speaking about ourselves? What are the words that we're using? The affirmations are a great daily practice of using good words. But also, what else are you saying in your conversation? How do you speak to yourself? Can you hear the conversations that you might have with others? And often it's listening to other people that we hear their conversation with us. I'm sure we all know somebody who everything is falling apart for them. How are you feeling today? Well, wait till I tell you, and they'll go through the list of everything. And that's okay. But they're just coming from that emotional place where nothing is positive. Whereas if we change, and it's very important to be realistic, I know that. I'm not saying live with our head in the clouds and pretend everything is amazing. But if we come from this place of feeling good, we're building the qualities that are very similar to physical qualities when we're doing well: resilience, resilience and stamina, and practice, and the energy. The same happens emotionally. We have the resilience and the energy and the strength. Think of a time when you had a difficult situation and you broke through that, you managed it. Where did you find the strength? You know, it's there somewhere. We got to pull it maybe, but we get it. That's okay, Wendy, thank you. We get it from where we need to get it from. But the emotional fitness and the emotional programming of that is allowing us to always have that reserve there. And it's there if we need it. But if it's there positive and energized, then we're going to have more and more and more energy in our day-to-day life, emotional and physical. I'm not even sure what question you asked me, Dawn, and I went right into there. So I hope I've that in some way.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that I would have thought of while you were talking, Bea, was you're right, we have the choice. And quite often people say, well, I don't know how I feel, I just woke up grumpy. Well, of course, you don't have to wake up grumpy and tired. You can catch yourself. But as the Buddhists say, most people are sleepwalking through life. They don't know how they feel. They don't know what they want. They're just on autopilot. And you do need to stop yourself and ask those 3 valuable questions, not just save them for your coachees, but ask them yourself. So I think that was useful. And I just want to give you another acronym for fear: feeling excited and ready.
Ready.
The false evidence appearing real. I like feeling excited and ready.
And it's brilliant, Dawn, because the physiology in the body, if we're feeling fear or we're feeling excited, is the same. It's the thoughts that create the connection to that feeling. So if you're thinking fearful thoughts, you're going to feel anxiety or everything is overwhelming. But if your thoughts are of excitement, you're going to feel that butterflies, that, you know, the same physiology, but the reaction or the proactive action or the result is different.
Yeah. It's a muscle like any other that we've got to work and strengthen.
And you just reminded me there, sorry, Dawn, one of the kind of crucial parts when I begin this journey with clients, or if we're, you know, and I have several coaches as clients who are working on their own emotional fitness in order to bring that to their business and to their clients. Because what I love about understanding life from this vantage point is you meet your clients where they're at, which is the most important thing, you know, and you can relate to what they've gone through maybe, or you have a connection to them in that way. I always see that I'm just a few steps ahead. I'm still experiencing all of these things, but I have the resources now to know what to do. So those 3 powerful questions are huge. But one of the most important things to help train ourselves emotionally is to train that attention muscle. is to identify where is my attention going and how do I keep it focused in the here and now, which is hugely challenging, I know. Because one of the most poignant kind of bridges I crossed with this in the last 18 months was understanding from we say the attention muscle point of view and trying to work at staying in the present moment, in the now. We get dragged into the past and into the future so easily in a split second. What am I going to have to do next week in order to do this? Or what happened yesterday or last week or 10 years ago or 15 years ago? And we hold on to that. So our emotions are on that spiral all the time, because where we are today, yes, if we're feeling good, we've asked ourselves those 3 questions. And a second later, something triggers us to 5 years ago. And what happens is we go back into 5 years ago. We're not going back into it from here. We're going back into it as if we're there. And we're registering the emotions and everything that happened in that situation 5 years ago. And now we bring that back to the present, because we're in the present. We're living here today. We're not there 5 years ago. And now the body is filled with the emotion and the heartache maybe, or the trauma that we had 5 years ago. Then we're in that. So that's all mixing up. And then somebody says, well, you need to have this ready for next week, or you need to have this ready for the week after. Now you've got your daily emotion, your 5 years ago emotion, and now you're bringing that into the future. So your future is fueled with all of this mix of emotions that aren't actually real in the present moment. And they'll impact how we move forward. This can often be why our clients find it challenging to achieve a goal, because they keep going back to how it was in the past or how it might be in the future, but they just can't feel it right now. So what I've worked on with my group of VIBs, but also with my one-to-one clients, is how can we go back to the past from here right now? How do we stay in the now and look at the past, not go into it, but look at it from this vantage point? So if I am feeling really strong and fit and happy, and I'm tuning into that, and I look back into the past, I go, okay, yeah, that's what happened. It is what it is right now. It was, I learned from it. What positives did I take from it? Well, I'm stronger. I'm more resilient than I was then. I stood up for myself, so I no longer have to deal with that situation or whatever it might be. Now we're in the present, just nicely looking back on the past. We can also look at the future from the present. So again, you're feeling strong, you're feeling resilient, you're feeling happy, you're feeling positive. These are feelings we can have, ladies. It's okay. We don't have to feel guilty because we feel happy in this big global craziness that's going on, because it's our lives, it's our internal emotional scale that's there. So we can feel amazing at any time, even if we're dealing with challenges. Because if we know that feeling, we are far more equipped to deal with the challenge and nearly say, bring it on. Okay, I'm ready for this. I've had a lot of practice. I've done all my fitness around my emotional well-being, so I'm ready for this. I know what to do. I've got the strength and I've got the stamina. Also, it allows us to plan the future from here, not when, if. It eliminates, actually, for clients as well, it eliminates that excuse mindset. Have we experienced that? Well, I would do it, but because I can't. And I would have tried it, but nah, it's never going to work. How do you know that? You only know that if it's something you really don't want to do. But don't block yourself with excuses on the emotional level, because you're just stopping that flow of energy going. Yes, Colette said, but, exactly. But when? And, we don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring for us. We don't know what the next 5 days or 5 years are going to bring. We only know here and now. And the present becomes the present. We're already after experiencing the past 3 seconds ago. So the present is consistent. It's the one thing that's consistent, but it keeps moving. And we've got to move with it. So when we use that, the training side of that, Dawn, it's so powerful. It's so powerful because it really allows you to check in with, how do you feel right now? We're not talking about what it was like to go through that. Bring it right back to here. How do you feel right now? It's great for young people when I work with young people. It allows them to let go. I have, young clients now who would have experienced a lot of challenges in school, kind of bullying and all of that and anxiety. And I understand that. We bring it right back to this simple basics. Then when you're in a place to be able to reflect back on it from the present, you can look at what it is, not the emotion of what it was. And that's the practice, that's the momentum that we keep up. So the daily affirmations are so powerful. Using the words I am, my favorite one. I am really good at what I do. It's my favorite one. It's my favorite one to use for myself and to share with others, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're really good at it. And that's all that it is. It could be making a cup of tea. I'm really good at making a cup of tea. It's about you. It's not about other people saying you're really good at making a cup of tea. What it allows us to do, that affirmation in particular is so powerful. It allows us to be open to the opportunities. If somebody asks us to do something, so take the campaign I ran in 6 weeks. I could have easily said, that's brilliant, Charlotte loves that one. Do you use that as well, Charlotte? I am really good at what I do. It's brilliant. When I went to run for the local election, I had no political experience. I was a community activist, so I knew everybody and everybody knew me. And I could have said, I'm not going to do this. But I thought, you know what? I'm really good at what I do. I'll try it. And what happened in it, I will never, ever, I'll never, ever regret doing that, because it was amazing. And I'll tell you why. My confidence, which I thought was good, soared through the roof. My time management, which I thought was excellent, ladies, 168 hours a week, 10,080 minutes, fine-tuned. I learned to really work in 5-minute blocks. It was amazing. We had to canvas twice a day and fit in a lunch maybe and something else. And it was down to a T. Whereas I used to be half an hour early for things, sitting around, relaxing. I used to just make it on time. It was phenomenal. And also as well, Josephine saying her inner voice, I am enough. That's a brilliant one, Josephine. I am enough. I am enough. Just all of those wonderful things. And that resilience that I got, doors being slammed in your face, get out of here, you're not the party we want, B, what do you like, or whatever. But I also got huge satisfaction out of meeting parents of kids that I'd given pals to in the school to say, B, you were brilliant. Thanks for all the work that you've done with the kids. And I was like, that was enough for me. But I really wouldn't have thought that I could have grown even more. And this is the beauty with this emotional fitness. You think you've got it so far. It's unlimited. It will expand and expand and expand, and you just got to embrace that. But it's important that you practice it. So if you're practicing that and you're in that with yourself, can you imagine your clients benefiting from that?
Definitely. Now, before we move on, I know Claz, who has to leave our meeting in 10 minutes, wants to ask you an slightly out of the box question. So
great, go for it.
Claz can unmute herself, please, B.
Thank you. Hi, Claz.
Hi, B. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insight and everything. Slightly out of the box question, because I do sessional work with lads in prison. And so this is a great passion of mine. I was volunteering in the prison, speaking to these 15 to 24-year-old, maximum 24-year-olds. So now they've brought me on as a sessional worker. I think they've really understood the value of coaching, I think, for the lads. So I would love to get your tips basically on this, because I absolutely 100% agree with everything you've said. A lot of what we need to act on is fundamentally based on what we're feeling at this moment. Now, with some of the lads that I work with in the prison, I'm just not going to get an honest answer out
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
Asking the question, how do you feel right now? You know, there's various challenges with that. You know, one of the challenges is that I do sense that a lot of the guys or a lot of the lads are quite disconnected from their own hearts and what they're feeling. I mean, you've got some lads who are in here for murder. So, you know, it's like, well, it kind of shows the disconnect there perhaps with what's going on in the heart. You've also got the peer pressure element of it. So, you know, they've got to uphold their reputation. They've got to front keep up, you know, and so revealing really what's going on in the heart is quite difficult. And another thing is, I mean, those are the two main challenges that I was thinking of. So what tips? So one of the things that I really have to do is hone in and listen to every single thing that they say to try and really work out what it is they're feeling out of what they say. So what tips can you kind of give me to help me know what precisely to listen out for? Because I only have a finite time with them, and you know, once they've gone, they've like almost forgotten the session already. So you have to try again and the next time, and it's like starting again from scratch. What can you tell me that will help me to really get down to, right, this is what I need to look out for, this is what I really need to listen out for as they're speaking?
That's brilliant, and well done for the work that you do. That isn't easy, but it's amazing, and it's so valuable to them, even if they don't feel it right now. You know, there might be, oh, here we go now, we have to talk about our feelings, or we have to get into this, and I don't want to. So they're going to probably immediately have some sort of a barrier there, maybe, you know, and it's, so there's a few different things that you could work with on that. One, I have no experience working in a prison with young people, but I do have experience working with challenging young people, which would be slightly different to the mainstream schools. So what I find with that is it's very much about connection. And sometimes I might have a plan and I don't go with the plan because how they interact with me changes the plan. So when I have to change that, I've got to think on my feet. So it's very much about building, as I'm sure you know anyway now, building a rapport with the young people, building a place where they can be safe and it's non-judgmental, building a place that when they do eventually open up, that they know it's okay to open up. Now, I don't know if your sessional work is done as a group class, or is it done one-to-one? One-to-one.
I do one-to-one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when you're working with somebody one-to-one, again, it's about having that safe space for them. I often think it's back to connecting with who they are and finding out who they are. You know, what they've done is one aspect of them, but who are they and what brought them to the place of doing what they did? Again, without going into details of that, just try to get underneath, you know, find out the person within. And we can really only do that by asking nice, gentle, interested in them questions. So you might not go in with how are you feeling right now, because it will go, whatever, you know, I'm feeling rotten. What are you going to do about it? Or whatever might happen. So you've got to change your tactics, I think, with that. But I mean, I know you probably use your own kind of skills in that way. Build up. One of the things I find is amazing, and I don't know if they'd be open to it, but it would definitely be worth trying, is a gratitude journal. Now, you could call it something different for them if they weren't connecting with it, but it's somewhere to write down what's going well. Even in the darkest moments of what's happening there, there's something going well. And it's to find that one hook that then allows them to build it and again. So when I work with young people in classes, they'd be like messing and throwing stuff around and doing whatever they want to do. And I'm like, seriously, I'm here. I'm like, I'm going to be global in years to come and you'll be sorry you didn't listen to me. And then they'll start laughing and they go, oh, B thinks she's, but I just come down to being in the moment with them. And if, for sometimes I often say to them, take the zapper and do the presentation yourself. Then you tell me how you tell me about what this is. and you kind of had to strip it right back. But if I get to see them for 4 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever the school is running the program, I see the difference towards the end. I just see somebody is getting what I'm talking about. I'll keep saying it, but they'll get it. And if it's only one guy in the class or one girl in the class, and the evidence happened to me when I was walking through the village, and one of the hardest lads that was in the school shouted at me from across the way. He was on his bike and he's like, "B, I have my gratitude journal, I still use it." And I was like, he's shouting that all over the place. And he takes it out of his tracksuit pocket. He's like, "I have it with me here." Now I'm talking a year after I finished with them. And I was blown away. And I just thought, okay, that one kid got it. So it's like, as Dawn and David would always say, start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. What do you visualize for this young people? Where will they be when they're eventually able to leave? And what was it you would like them to have in their toolbox for themselves? And taking it, seeing the greatness in them. There's something that's great about them, and letting them find that. And when they make the connection that you've seen it and they see it, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. That's why you're doing it. You love this. You're passionate about it. So, you will get there. I don't know if that helps. Kaz, does it help in any way?
Loads of tips. I've got like 8-9 bullet points from
Excellent.
that.
Excellent.
And I don't
Well
know,
done.
Kaz, if you saw what Josephine said. She said, just ask them where they're feeling it in their body.
Yeah, very good, Josephine. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another great thing. And, if a gratitude journal is too much, very much like a food mood journal, they could just write one word every day. And then when you have the next session with you, see which one is the common denominator, how much, which one gets the majority of their feeling, and start to build on that.
That's brilliant, though. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
I'll give it a try. I'm still trying to work out how I can give them tasks without them feeling like it's homework.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you
Because
ask
that's
them,
brilliant.
how would they like to record what they're feeling on a daily basis? It could be a picture, it could be a cutout of a magazine, it could be a mood board. Just ask them rather than give them homework. You're absolutely right, Kaz. And then they own it.
Yeah, and it could be a color, it could be a song, it could be a movie. There's so many things. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that would work better, just because the tools that they have access to, aren't normally there. So, it's about working within those resources as well. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that, everybody.
You're welcome. And Kaz, just before you go, there is going to be on the PowerPoint there, you'll see a reset acronym that I have, and the habits acronym. And they're two that you can adapt, you can use, and see if they can make some sort of connection for you with the young people that you're working with.
Thank you. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's open it up. I'm the PowerPoint presentation on as well, if I can. So anybody else can ask their questions. So there we go. So this is B's PowerPoint presentation. Do you want to just quickly talk us through it, B, and then tell me when you want me to change the slide?
Thank you, Dawn. It was really just to have a little bit of a visual for us all. What you might ask yourselves now as well is the question of how you're feeling now. Has it changed? Do you still feel the way you felt earlier on when we started? And it is important to check in with that several times during the day. So you might make a note of that. But the habit of how we think creates the habit of how we feel. And that's it really in a nutshell. Everything that we think about creates the feeling, and the feeling is then the action. So if we're aligned with our action, so how do we feel right now? How would you like to feel? And what do I need right now? Please, ladies, get into the practice and the habit of using those questions, of asking yourself that. It will become natural then to do that as well. Thanks, Dawn. So back to the I am affirmations. So just, you can use these, ladies, if you want to. So I have a list of them there as well, if they're still there, but they're like, I am, probably the first one there is, I am really good at what I do. I am positive. I am strong. I am good at what I do. I am happy. I particularly like the one I am inspired, because when we're tuned into being inspired, we're coming from a place, not necessarily that's motivated, but a place that's inspired. because that inspired action is really powerful. I'm excited, I am confident, I am successful. Another favorite that I like to work with young people now, there is a fine line between what they perceive confidence and what they perceive as arrogance or conceitedness. So I get that and I know that. But there's nothing more powerful than being really self-confident. Without that, it's not about the arrogance, but that real sense, because then we have that affirmation that we can deal with anything. But my favorite one with young people is I am amazing. And I get them all to stand in the room and say on the count of 3, you know, all together, I am amazing. Now, and that's something class might like to do on some level, but they are very low in the first response. So we might get like 30 people going, I am amazing. I'm like, seriously, come on. And then the second level. And then I'd say to them, we can raise the roof. You're in the classroom. Nobody, it doesn't matter who hears us. And they change and they raise the roof and they say really loudly, I am amazing. And what I want them to make the connection with there is like, check in with how you feel when you say that. How do you feel? You feel good, you feel strong, you feel amazing. And then what actions are you going to take when you feel that? They're going to be amazing. So we don't need lots of affirmations, but things like using the words amazing, fantastic, brilliant, and beautiful, even in your conversation, allows you to be constantly kind of firing up positive energy with those positive thoughts that then create the feelings. So they're just some examples of affirmations there as well. And then when I work with my coaching group, as we've called them, the VIBs, I just wanted to pop in there that's the coaching group. Each time when we're doing a live session, Charlotte will agree with this, she's one of my VIBs there, she may confirm this, that we were inspired in the moment. And I kind of come up with these things nearly while we're in the middle of the group. And I'd say, right, okay, I'm going to make an acronym out of it because habits are so important, whether it's your affirmations or your meditation. All of those little sections within the emotional fitness program add together to allow us to feel emotionally fit as often as we can. So the habits acronym, hone in on what makes you feel good. If it makes you feel good, it's going to connect to everything that's positive. We often are doing things that aren't making us feel good because we feel we have to, or I can't change it, or I don't have the choice. Thanks, Charlotte. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hone in on what makes you feel good. Having an attitude of gratitude. On the next level, you know, using the gratitude journal, we could do a whole session on that. I've done a 6-week program on that because it's a huge amount of things in there. Be okay with your emotions. It's okay to feel off, but it's to channel that and say, how do I want to change it? Or what way would I like to feel? Inspired, aligned action. When we're inspired and we're aligned, the actions are going to be proactive and bring about amazing results. But trust the process. We can't wake up tomorrow and say, right, I want to be 100% emotionally fit. It's consistent. It's ever changing. It's moving. It's energy. It's energy that's moving all the time. I always throw in an S there for smile, because when we smile, it changes everything. It's something that in this world of passing things on and things being contagious, a smile is contagious. Pass it on. So that's something you can use yourself.
I think the B is quite important, that it is okay. As Catherine said earlier, it's about having the willingness to feel all the feelings that we're feeling, even the unpleasant ones, because if you didn't accept or realize that that's how you were feeling, how would you recognize the good feelings? How would you recognize the shift?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that there's a wonderful emotional scale. I can send it to you, Dawn, and we can add it in or something if you wish. And it just shows those levels of emotion, and we can bounce within that emotional scale so many times in an hour, never mind in a day. But you're right, it's to be okay with that. Thank you.
I think that's why it's important as coaches, we ask our clients, how are you today? In fact, I don't even say, how are you feeling today? Because I don't know if they're kinesthetic, visual, or auditory at that stage, but I always ask, how are you today? Because I only want a snapshot of today's energy. What have they come to the coaching session with, rather than, you know, what was happening yesterday or the day before.
Very good. Thank you. And then this was the reset. And I came up with this because we had to literally change the way we delivered PAL's program in schools, because they weren't in schools. So I had to reframe it into working with them online. So we changed the whole program, and part of it was bringing this in. It was to rise up, because our students were working from home. They may not have been leaving their bedroom. They were in their bedroom from the time they got up in the morning, school in the bedroom, food in the bedroom, connection with their friends through the bedroom, everywhere in the one place. So it's like, rise up, get out of the bed and be ready for the day. Engage with others, even if it was a case of walking into the kitchen and saying hello to a parent or a friend, because everything was online for them. They needed that kind of energetic engagement with people. Smile again as often as you can. And then the E was to energize your mind and body. Get out for a bit of walk the dog, 15 minutes. This was when we were really restricted. There was only 2K distance and all of that. Get out for what you can go and walk around your back garden 10 times and you're energized. The mind was, the gratitude journal, affirmations, all of those things. And then take action to do one positive thing every day. It's okay that we have a difficult day, but one positive thing allows us to see that reset. It's like with the thoughts, feelings, and actions, Dawn, where do we pause? I often say the pause is between the thoughts and the feelings, because we have the power in that point to change the feeling by changing the thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's something that Benjamin Franklin talked about, didn't he? That space between responding and thinking, and that's the space that gives us the power to choose our reaction. So that's
Absolutely
very important.
Yeah, just press the pause button. So I think, if there's any questions from anybody now, I know you've been great and interactive as we've gone on, but if there's any questions at all, please feel free to ask, even outside the box questions.
Yeah, love the outside the box questions. Well, while you're thinking about the questions, before we wrap up this call and have Bee's undivided attention, I just want to remind all the IAPC&M members on this call from around the world that we do have the International Certified Mental Health First Aid Training, and you've got a choice of attending on the 19th or the 20th of July. So if you haven't responded yet, if you missed that weekly bulletin, if that's something that interests you, then drop me an email and I will add you to the date, because I need 16 people on each of those days to make it worthwhile to run. And that's vastly reduced from £325 just to £125 just for the IAPC&M members. So that's just a little plug, seeing as we're talking about the importance of mental health and first aid. Colette said, any particular books or websites other than your own, of course, Bee, that you would recommend for her to look up some more, please?
Let me see. I love, there's so many aspects to this. One of my favorite books is 4 Agreements. So who asked the question there? Sorry.
It was Colette.
Yeah.
Who
Colette, sorry, Colette.
Yeah, the 4 Agreements.
Yeah, the 4 Agreements, very, very powerful. And even to kind of have those 4 agreements put into a screenshot. I know my daughter, when she was struggling, she just finished college. She had to do her last year from home, and she had to teach in the first year of her last year of college. So it was phenomenal. But she would often then say, 4 agreements, ma'am. She'd screenshot it, put it on her phone. She's like, I'm there. Be impeccable with your words, particularly about yourself. What you say to yourself really matters. Not taking anything personally. It is what it is. Don't make any assumptions and do your very best. It's a cornerstone of great living for that emotional fitness. So I really love that book. Another great book, I love Wayne Dyer. I think, when he says things like, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. But I did, and if anybody wants to join the Be Happy coaching group, it's a free group. There's about 39 sessions on that at the moment. It's a Facebook group. But we did 10 weeks of the 10 secrets to success and inner peace by Wayne Dyer. The first secret is to have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing. Hugely powerful. Read the book so many times, but when we actually did it as, we'd say, like a masterclass over the 10 weeks, it was really powerful. I learned even so much more. There's so many. There's a book, The Green Platform, Red Platform, again, very good for, or The Green Platform it's called. It's, I can't think, Declan Coyle is the guy's name. Very powerful, very much about what I was talking about nearly there with thoughts, feelings, and actions. So again, it's keeping things simple. So hopefully that will help, Colette.
And I'll throw in a couple of book recommendations as well, is Who Moved My Cheese and the Fish trilogy. So Fish, fish sticks and fish tails. When you can't change your environment, you can't change your relationship, you can't change your job, you can't change your finances, you can change your mindset and how you perceive the situation. They're very, very powerful books.
Excellent.
Any other questions, anybody? Jenny?
Yes. I'm just thinking about one of my clients who's an older gentleman, and he has a lot of physical problems, and I have a strong suspicion it's because it's due to fear, anxiety, mental health. But whenever I've tried to address it or raise it, I've really been battered down for not, understanding the physical symptoms that he has, and in and out of doctors, etc., etc., etc. How would you approach that, helping people see things through a different, reframe, or that perhaps emotional fitness is something that they really need to think about it, because it might really help physical health,
Physical.
medical physical health under consultants, that type of thing?
Yeah, very good question, Jenny, because it's like our physical health is a priority over our mental health all the time, or our physical illness is going to be a priority as well. So if somebody has a lot of physical ailments, and I don't mean permanent ones, but things that have kind of been drawn to you, as we know with Louise Hay, you can heal your life. It's so powerful. The body absorbs that energy that comes from the emotions. And if it's a knee, it's something in particular, if it's a back. So he may not be open to that connection between the physical and emotional, but can he remember a time when he didn't feel physically challenged? Can he remember a time that he could sit up without struggle, that he could walk without struggle? And how did he feel when he had that experience? And maybe hone in on the feeling that he has then to create the feeling again now, which has a direct impact on the physiology of the body. But working, it's like what I said, I was late to the physical fitness connection with the emotional fitness. And for him, it might be now he's so focused on the physical unfitness, if you want to call it that, that maybe it's bringing the emotional fitness as the focus to then allow him to, at one point, become inspired and aligned with the connection of the two through your guidance and support. But it's like chipping away. It's like, small bit, like the book, as Dawn said, Who Moved My Cheese? You'll get there, but it's kind of seeing it from a different perspective, or allowing him to see it differently. I don't know if that helps.
I don't know if you've read Louise Hay's book, Jenny, but she actually lists all the symptoms in Heal Your Life. So if you've got a bad knee, a tennis shoulder, and then talks about what it could be emotionally. But you almost, you might also like to speak to Jeremy Glynn, who did a masterclass in January. He's a kinesiologist.
Yeah, I interviewed him for the podcast.
Yeah, I thought you did. So he would be the sort of person who'd give you some good tips on that as well.
What was the name of that book, Louise?
Heal Your Life. I think it was that. Just
you can heal your life.
Got all the symptoms in it. She talks about how when you see little old people who are bent over, and she said it's because they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders. Literally, they've got so much emotional baggage. It's making them curved. It's a very good book, actually.
I'll send a picture to you, Jenny. I have it not literally to hand here, but I use it quite regularly as well. Okay. So I'll send a picture to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else with a question before we wrap up? Because we always like to end each session with a 60-second CPD. What did you get out of this session? Because we know if we leave our CPD notes to, recording it on our log at the weekend, we'll have forgotten. So just 60 seconds quiet time with yourself right now. Either put it in the chat box or on your log if you've got it handy. What is your key takeaway from today? Starting now. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your participation and your questions and your positive energy. It's been fantastic to have you all on this call. And thank you, Bea, for your expertise and explaining it very, very succinctly for us, that all important mind-body connection. So just remind us, if you would, of how we get hold of you, particularly if we want to join the VIBs on Facebook.
Yes. So I have several groups on Facebook, but the one that you can join immediately if you wish is called the Be Happy Coaching Group. I can send a link, or you'll find it on Facebook. You don't necessarily have to be my friend to be joining it, so I can link you in with that and send. Maybe the best bet would be to send the link to Dawn, maybe.
Just put it in the chat box now, if you would be.
Oh, you see, I'm great at the emotional fitness piece, but the IT piece now, Dawn, is not probably my area. I'm really good at what I do, so I'll try, but it's not necessarily my area of expertise.
Okay, just read me the address and I will type it in for you. It's on Facebook, and it's Be Happy.
It's on Facebook. It's the Be Happy Coaching Group.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can even see a picture.
Okay, that's fine. We'll find it.
And thank you. And then you can join any of my Facebook pages. So I have What Will Be with Bea. I have Pals Program. I'm on Instagram as well. So if you follow the IAPC&M on Instagram, you'll see me as a follower there as well. And you can check out my palsprogram.ie website. My What Will Be with Bea is the Facebook connection there as well.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing, ladies. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dawn, for giving me the opportunity to
you're welcome.
connect with you all. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Very good to have you back. Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.